Set a timer for 3 minutes. Cool. All right, and time's starting now. All right, Sarah, well, thank you for coming today out of your busy day. I just have a few questions about your speech. So first, let me clarify. I apologize if I wasn't clear. For the story about Anne Makosinski, I stated that she was an international student in LA, not that she was a student at UCLA. So with that being said, she was still a student, international student, because the California Science Fair, where she won her 2013 award, took place in Mountain View, which is in California. And
but that technically doesn't constitute her being a student at an actual university where, as you mentioned, how students were being turned away at the border due to health-related grounds. She did not have to go through that process because she just traveled here to be entered into a fair.
Sure, I know, but it's still, I'm gonna go on with the question. So with that science fair, she could have been turned around for health-related grounds because any international student that comes here has to go through that process. So that false accusation.
However, I also stated in my actual speech.
I don't think you're allowed to interrupt me.
Yes, I am. So actually, throughout my speech, I stated how students only have to go through this process if they are willing to extend their visa or change their visa into a green card. Okay. It's not just if you're traveling here willy-nilly.
Perfect. Moving on, just to clarify, people who are asking questions are allowed to interrupt. I'm sure the professor knows that. Next question. Do you remember my thesis statement?
Yes. Can you repeat it, please, though?
Sure. I don't think you did, according to the speech, because I said, and I quote, "This brings me to my stance that it is unethical to deport immigrants for the reasoning of health-related grounds without evidence." Yeah. So I think you supported your speech in a way that if they have evidence, then they can deport. But I believe this topic is coming up where they don't have evidence. My third question is, do you know how
I didn't actually get to answer that question. That question is, no, we're actually not deporting anyone. They have to be, if they are trying to immigrate here, they get tested and go through the process in their own country through the U.S. embassies. They don't get turned away at the border just out of the blue. The only testing that actually occurs here in the U.S. is through the student visas and through the changing of statuses.
But in the prompt, it says they're getting turned away at the ports. So if you read that, you would have seen.
Yes, but if
I think the strongest point,
guidelines for it,
the strongest point is that during a pandemic, and I agree with you, that is a strong point, that we're in a pandemic right now, and it needs to be strict. However, before COVID-19, when this was over, everything in life passes. So do you believe that we need to reassess that these students are frequently turned around? Because imagine if you were a college student traveling across the world to go to a university, and you had you got accepted, and then you found out that you couldn't go. Wouldn't you want to reassess that type of program?
I think the more important fact of the matter is whether or not our health and safety is going to be based on whether or not someone is willing to go through a very simple and thorough process that, as I stated, as I talked to various immigrants who came here and had set up multiple interviews with Mr. Patel, Mr. Chen, and more, it is a very simple and easy process, and the certain health and well-being of the American people should not just be, oh, these students, if they're sick, if they are highly contagious with these diseases, should we let them in? No, we should not be letting them in, because it is just unethical to risk everyone's lives based off of someone who is contagious.
I agree with you on that, but don't you think there's a better system to check for these documentations before they travel here to the United States?
Well, if they do not have their vaccines, they give them the vaccines that are needed. They do a chest x-ray, they do blood tests, they do a physical examination. They can't turn you away for the common cold or anything like that. They have to actually have and provide specific documentation that you have these highly deadly and contagious diseases that people here in America are not easily exposed to. So we have high death rates of. So smallpox, malaria, there's been cases of the plague Black Plague that's been coming up. So if we open the borders, what's going to happen?
Right. I agree with you. Those are all very deadly diseases. But just the last, like a yes or no question, do you think these students should be aware that they need to get those before they're turned around at the border? For example, the college can let them know that these are the documentations, or do you think that we should just keep it how the way it is?
Well, I would also ask you, are you aware that multiple other countries such as England and throughout Europe also do these examinations? So if they want to travel anywhere or immigrate, they need to know what's in store.
So just because another country has a poor program, because another country has a poor program, gives us the green light to keep that low standard? So just because England has a poor system of doing something gives the United States the green light to...
No, I'm saying that they check health-related grounds, and it's part of their system too. So it's for these higher end, I would say first world countries, it is a significant issue for them, and they do check for that when people immigrate there.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.